So welcome to the latest webinar in our Engineerica Education Keynote series. We are very pleased to be bringing you this complimentary presentation. For those of you who are new to us, Engineerica specializes in academic center management solutions for higher education. You might be familiar with some of our software products such as Academia and AccuCampus, and of course I want to give a special welcome to any Engineerica clients joining us today. And for those of you who are not yet users, I do want to let you know we are offering a complimentary trial of our most popular center management system, Academia. This gives you the opportunity to use it for an entire semester risk-free to see if it helps make management of your center and data collection easier. If you are interested, you can send me an email at rachelc@engineerica.com, and as soon as I finish up this intro, I will paste that email into the chat for you all. So we started this keynote series for our clients and our contacts who wanted to learn more about best practices and trends in higher education. And each month we feature a distinguished speaker to talk about hot topics in the academic support field. And we are working on the details for next month, for December. So we will send out an announcement when we begin promotion on that. So keep an eye out on your email and our social media channels. A quick introduction to myself. I am Rachel Cook. I'm a client success manager with Engineerica, and I also organize the keynote series. I was previously a learning center manager for 6 years. So like all of you, I am very passionate about higher education and student success. I love being able to bring you these presentations. I also have with me Mark Kehoe. He is one of our technical support specialists. He is here as my backup and also to help with any technical issues that might come up. With all that said, I am pleased to introduce you to this month's speaker. Amber Hamilton serves as an assistant professor and coordinator of the Tutorial Center at Slippery Rock University. With extensive experience overseeing the tutoring services on campus and academic support initiatives, Amber aims to foster a safe and welcoming environment for students seeking help in their academic journey. Amber received her Bachelor of Arts in Linguistics from the University of Virginia, a Master's of Education in Student Affairs and Higher Education from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and is currently working on her doctoral degree at the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, where her research focuses on academic help-seeking behaviors among college students in the AI era. We are so pleased to be hosting Amber today. Thank you so much for your time. I am going to go ahead and make you the presenter. All right, Amber, thank you so much. The floor is yours.
Oh, yay. All right, I'm going to do, let me move this over and I'm going to share. And then are you able to see me and the presentation?
Yes, we are able to see you and now your presentation in, yes, full screen. There we
In
go.
full screen mode. Awesome. All
Yes.
right. So hello everyone. And I'm also, let me move you all to this screen if I'm able to do that. Perfect. So I can engage with you during engagement time. So hello everyone. I hope you are doing well on this wonderful Thursday Eve. It was cold this morning up in Pennsylvania, but now I feel like the temperature has gotten comfortable. So I was able to actually take my jacket off, which is really nice. As you know, Rachel introduced me, which is a wonderful, lovely intro, and I appreciate it. I'm Amber Hamilton, and I am an assistant professor at Slippery Rock. And while I am technically faculty, like my main responsibility is working with the tutoring center here on campus. So I'm really excited to kind of share some information with you all today. I'm really big on engagement, so there will be times that I'll ask questions that you're more than welcome to engage with me using the Q&A box and sharing your responses with me, as well as we will pause briefly for some questions. I have like little time slots that I allow to do that, but I definitely welcome them at the end, as I want this to be a presentation for us and not just me to you. So just a little bit about my objectives and what I'm hoping to kind of share with you. I just want us to be able to sit together and kind of identify the needs in supporting the overall mission of our centers, because I know it can be tough trying to get what we need to give the needs to the students. Also, I want to share and help everybody understand the importance and value of student leadership, because sometimes people think they have to put it all on themselves. And then hopefully you all can walk away with identifying ways to foster some leadership skills among your staff, and also hopefully creating a diverse staff to make it work for you. Now, while I introduced myself a little bit or had a wonderful intro, I do kind of want to share the scope of like my institution to give some perspective to you all. So Slippery Rock University is essentially like a mid-sized institution. I think we're in the 8,000s. I think we're hovering our way to 9,000 students enrolled, and that's both undergrad and grad students at the institution. We are located in a rural area as we are in Western Pennsylvania, a little north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so I feel like I'm in Steelers country as I'm a Southern girly myself. We are a public institution in that we are a part of the Pennsylvania state system of higher education. And so we have other sister schools that are a part of the system, whether it be, some institutions to the far east, like Westchester, or some right next door, like Clarion University or Penn West Clarion. For myself, I've been in this role since 2020. So prior to this role, I like pivoted from being a staff member and moved on over to the faculty realm where I oversee the tutoring operations. I have a lot of experience when it comes to working with like student leaders and trying to like foster and develop them. But doing tutoring was just a whole new dynamic. The only thing about it though is it's just all me. Like I have nobody else. Like when I say I'm faculty and then this is my role, that's how my office is established. So yes, I advise students, I teach students, but my main role is to do the tutoring center versus my colleagues, she advises students, teaches students, and then her main role is just to do first seminars. And so when it comes to the operations and serving all of these students, nearly 9,000 students, the responsibility falls all on me. And beforehand, my predecessor, he was a paper guy. Like everything was on paper. When I say everything, I meant the job description, the application, when the students were meeting and you had to sign the paper, I had to sign the paper and we'd file that away. And then the survey for it, just everything was on paper, not even a simple Google form, just to say, hey, I liked my service. And so I had to do a complete flip. And again, it was just all me. So it was pretty stressful in that sense. But I feel like I found ways to be strategic and make it work, which I'm happy to share with you all today. In terms of our learning center, I will say for the most part, we're mostly centralized. Like most everything comes out of our office in terms of tutoring. But of course, we do have those separate learning assistant centers. So the writing center, of course, is its own entity, and they are located in the library. We used to be located in the library. We have since moved this past year, which into a really beautiful space, which has been nice. And then we also have an academic coaching team. So those of you who have like peer academic coaches on campus, we also have them as well. And they're actually within my department area, which is really nice. So we can work hand in hand. And then we have like a math lab or assistance center. It's not really tutoring. Like students can just go there to like do their homework. And then there is a student that is there to support them if need be. But really, most of the tutors for math do work in the tutoring center. And then we have physics tutors that work in the physics lab because they need the equipment, but they are hired from the tutoring center. So I've built a lot of relationships over the past years to try to make sure that all of the operations can come out of our area, as I want to make sure that we're training students appropriately to work with students, and also making sure that we're tracking data. As I said beforehand, my predecessor was a paper person, and we actually do utilize Academia, and it's been really helpful and really nice to get the reports that we need to make sure that the things that we are doing are actually, meaningful and effective for our operations. So that's a little bit about me and a little bit about us as an institution, as I wanted to share that moving forward in my presentation. So before I get into all the fun stuff as in my content area, I do kind of want to hear from you all. So this is one of those moments that I'm going to pause and let you engage in the chat for a moment. And I have two questions that I'll pose for you. And you can put one and then answer the question, and two and answer the other question. But the first question is, what are some challenges you are experiencing in your learning center? It could be anything, whatever that looks like to you. Share that with me in the chat. The second question is, if I were a fairy and could grant you any wish for your learning center, what would you want and or need? And try to avoid the general, like, I need money. Yes, I need money too. But what do you need it for? So be more specific in the sense of like higher paid tutors, or to invest in an iPad for, the services that we provide. So I'll give you a moment, again, in the question or Q&A box, definitely go ahead and drop that information, answer the questions as I want to hear from you. And then I believe Rachel will be my lovely Vanna White if anybody's a game girly like me and likes to watch Wheel of Fortune, but an assist.
So in response to question 1, we have not having qualified student tutors who are willing to work for the salary we can provide. I have a lot of experience with that. Let's see, money to better pay tutors, wish for a new space, more investment from the support staff in our enrollment and student success division. My center is in academic affairs. Getting for number 1, getting students to come for tutoring and group study sessions. Wow, you guys they're coming in hot. Tutors to stay long enough to become leaders. We're busy, but only serving about 8% of the STEM population. That's an answer to 1. Very wish full-time leadership alongside me and better tutor pay rates. And then a challenge, it is very challenging to get all the student mentors together for a training. Their schedules are so full. I remember I had to offer 2 or 3 slots for training every term. Question 1, lower quality tutors in recent years, space layout, lack of staffing. We lost a staff role a few years ago and they haven't refilled it. Would love more professional staff to support tutors in SI. Lots of great responses here. Multiple locations to staff, small budget. They'd wish for ability to provide raises for tutors after completing CRLA training. Just tons of response here. Better faculty connections, no options for one-on-one tutoring due to high demand. I've heard that from some clients as well. I would wish for the library and tutoring services to be in one building. I know that's the norm at a lot of places. Getting the tutors to buy in and work together to share the load. Would love a bigger tutoring center space, getting more students to utilize our services. The students that use it love it. The ones that do not tend to be the ones that need to use our center. And I would love if our space was less separate. I've seen that come up too. So that's, I skipped over a few, but there were a ton of great responses there.
I love it. So thank y'all so much for engaging. And I even took some little tidbit of notes because I want to also make sure that I talk about how I kind of manage some of those things that you all mentioned in there as well in terms of challenges, because it's hard out here and I feel you and I'm with you. I did want to share with you, at least for my presentation, there we go, some possible experiences, especially, you know, I have done this presentation before and some things that I've heard, and some things that we actually haven't mentioned yet are possible experiences or challenges that we are having. So one of which, and I know for our icebreaker question, we hope to learn more about, I had mentioned AI. No, I don't think anybody said that in the responses. Maybe they did, and I apologize, we just missed it. But that might be a challenge that we are either directly experiencing or indirectly experiencing at this point, especially as we're struggling to just kind of keep up with the demand. Like, we're not meeting it, so like students are going to that AA realm. Someone had mentioned it, tutor retention. Was my biggest thing when I started out. I think I started out with 25 students and I've luckily grown up to get to 75, but it is hard to get them to retain and want to stay and be there. Budget cuts is also a big thing, especially like the Pennsylvania state. We haven't even approved our budget yet, so I'm trying my best to make sure we're not going over what we at least currently have in reserve, so that way when we do get approved, like nothing is, I haven't went over or anything like that, or if we do get cut, I haven't also hopefully hit that threshold. Also, whether it's the students or yourself, there's just overwhelming workload. Like that can be a challenge and can really break us in this particular field. And the other thing that some people have mentioned in the past is just things are just stagnant. Like we're just operating. Like we have nothing new coming in. We can't probably pay the tutors enough to make it, you know, interesting or shake things up. And that just presents a challenge in itself if you can't do any changes. And there's many layers to that. The next, for the reflection question, I asked, what if I were a fairy and can grant you any wish? Some things I've heard in the past is more technology-based resources. I know the VR goggles are hot and popping, but some people, it can be expensive, even if they're $300. They're a lot. Higher wages for student workers, which I just heard some of you all say, and I feel the same way as well. A larger space to house students, and I feel like that was some of the things that popped up in the responses as well. And then time to complete the certification paperwork. And I'll even kind of multi-use this. This was kind of something from the past, as I said, but I did hear someone say, you're just trying to get the students around to get all of their trainings in and make sure everybody can make the time. But a struggle for me, and I heard from others, is it's just hard to get the CRLA paperwork done in general, especially if it's just me, myself, and I. And remember, I'm teaching and advising. Right now, I'm in the thick of advising season. So the fact that I'm able to sit here and take time for you also proves like how much I can trust my student leaders as I'm trying to get things going. However, I'm not a fairy. Sorry, she's not a fairy. But it's always nice to kind of hear from others and see like that we're not alone in kind of the challenges that we're going through. And as I said before, hopefully we can learn from each other or with each other and how to navigate and make things great, and hopefully move forward and do great work in our centers. Again, in this presentation, I'll share my experience with you all. But as I said before, I'm really engaging, so there will be another point of reflection and engagement later. And so if you're able and willing to share in the chat, it may be very beneficial to others, especially as we kind of brainstorm and move forward with the things that we hope to implement in the future. So in the topic title, I said, I'm leveraging student leaders as it is just me, and I'm trying to make things work or make things shake the best that I can. The way that I do that is I have the tutor ops. They used to be called tutor leads, but I wanted to change their name to make it more meaningful in their resumes. And so I was like, oh, maybe they can be operations assistants. And then the students themselves are like, let's be the ops. And I said, huh? Okay, y'all got it. Like, if y'all want to be the ops, who am I to stop you? So I call them the tutor ops. I'm not calling them the ops because they are ops. They wanted that. So I'm running with it as the supervisor. But what they are is these are essentially upper class students who serve to help in the functional and operational role, and whether it's executing projects or presentations or actions that I see fit for them to do to help for the tutoring things we have going on. This role is responsible for really the day-to-day operations. And at first it can sound like, oh, the typical, like, oh, they answer the phone calls, they greet people when they walk in the door, and they do the scheduling at the front desk. Yes, they do all those things plus more, because I do want to empower them to be student leaders. And so the hope is that they can actually like get something and take something away from this particular position versus saying, oh, it's just another on-campus job. I'm going to go there and I'm going to do my homework and call it a day type of thing. So before I kind of get into the nitty gritty in terms of like their responsibilities and roles and how I kind of help and supervise them, I do want to share like the hiring like timeline that I have, so that way you have a little bit of perspective. Typically it's late fall, and that's really right now. So actually my applications are open, but this is the time that I recruit, interview, and hire. They do like a pre-winter break onboarding, just kind of like a quick intro. One day they come in and say, hey, how's it going? And then spring semester is when they start their training, and this is their level 1 semester training. How I do it is I take a more of a scaffolding approach. So as I'm kind of sharing this out to you, I only hire at the end of fall unless I really need somebody. So last semester I did really need somebody, and she's currently in her training semester. But the hope is that we'll recalibrate back. But I hire at the end of fall, and then all of spring they train, because technically it's our less busy semester, as well as I really don't have the time to dedicate to tutoring as much because I'm helping with orientation and registration schedules. And so this is where the other tutor ops, the level 2s, are actually leaning into their level 2 skill and actually training and helping their peers, and that helps build the camaraderie. In their training semester, they do make the minimum wage. So For us, we are allowed to go up to, I think, $11, and this was new. So I'm with y'all. Beforehand, we were at $7.25 across the state. That's all we could pay the tutors, and we kind of got away with doing, or not got away, but we got away with doing like, you could get time and a half if you did this, that, and the third. But luckily, our state system did bump up the minimum wage to $8.50. So everybody coming in, no matter if it's a tutor or even a tutor off at a level 1, they're coming in at $8.50. But once the tutor like op continues into the non-training semester or their first non-training semester, they would get a raise for that. And so the essence is that I'm going to train you, and if it doesn't work out at the end of the semester, I mean, we could part ways, no hurt, no harm, no foul. Because really my goal and hope is that this tutor leader stays with me until they graduate. And as you saw, I just said tutor leader. I'm trying with the ops, y'all. It's a new change. So if I say tutor leader, it's synonymous with tutor ops. For these majors, I do target particular majors if I can, because I've had really good success with them. One is the communication majors, especially if you're trying to look for those to do some flyers with you or for you. And then healthcare administration, I've recently had 2 really good tutor ops who are in the healthcare admin. And I think this is really good if they're trying to get into administration and trying to do some operations work. This would be helpful. But really my biggest target is non-STEM majors. I say that because I want the STEM majors as tutors. So the goal is not to prioritize STEM. I'm not saying that I'm not going to hire them, because I do have someone who's a biology major as a tutor op. But the hope and goal is to be like, hey, how about you try tutoring first? And then if you want to like work your way back into tutor op role, I will do that. But I know some schools do pick like their student leaders from their tutoring pool, but actually because I want to keep and maintain the peeps I have, I try to actually go outside of my realm, so that way they serve as the operations assistants. Their qualifications are listed on the screen. They do have to have a certain GPA. They do have to exhibit or at least have potential growth in the role, and they're not required to be a tutor before or even during their employment, but some of them do help out during their employment if they do know answer to some of the questions students ask. So I mentioned a little bit about like level 1 versus level 2, or that there is one, but I want to share the difference between them. So for tutor op level 1s, this is more of an entry level leader, and they're just still learning the ropes and figuring it out. I am not big on throwing the baby in the pool and being like, go ahead and swim. If anything, I want the baby to be in the pool, but I want them to like start to get used to things, kick around, and then kind of let them figure it out as they've developed the skills to do so. So they don't make big decisions yet. If anything, they're the ones who are asking me the most questions to make sure that their actions are appropriate. However, the op level 2s, they are the leaders. They've been here for at least 2 semesters. They typically know, honestly, more than me, because they know what is supposed to happen next, what's supposed to happen now, and I trust them to make the best decisions on my behalf. As I said, I am currently doing this call. My actually most senior tutor op, she's probably been here for at least 4 semesters, is managing, of course, the front. And if there's something to arise, I very much trust what she has decided, because she's been here in well seasoned and knows how I would respond. Therefore, she would also act accordingly. And so the hope and the goal is to get the level 1s to that level 2 level, so that way we can keep on rolling and operating in a smooth capacity. So a little bit about the responsibilities that they have. So for like the level 1 ops and the level 2 ops, they do conduct presentations. So and as well as myself. So we do go into first seminar classrooms and all present on the tutoring center. However, how I train them on this, especially the tutor op level 1, is that I take them with me to a particular classroom presentation, and I do the presentation myself. And then as we walk back, I kind of share the tips and tricks of the presentation. I then give them about really like 3 days to say, hey, now you review the presentation and schedule a time with me privately to have this presentation. And then what I will do, they'll come in my office and they're on my computer, and I will sit here at the chairs and let them present to me. And then I will give my feedback. And then if they want to do another trial run with just me, we'll do it. If they're ready to go in the room, we will go into the classroom together. That person will present to the class, and then I will watch them as they're doing it in the classroom live. And then on the walk back, we will do a debrief together, and I will let them know, hey, I think you're confident to do it by yourself, or let's practice again, and then circle back, and then you can do it by yourself in the future. And from there, they're able to then conduct the presentations on their own. So all the level 2 ops, I have no hesitation. I'm just like, hey, can you go handle this for me, or do you need me to make it because of you having class? We are a CRLA certified institution, so we do have CRLA trainings. I do hear you when someone said, hey, I can't get all of my tutors into one training. Again, it's just me. And like I said, I have about 75 tutors and I have to get them all trained the best way that I can do it. So we actually host our CRLA trainings once a month on a Sunday for about 4 hours, I believe. And so that being said, we have a part 1 and a part 2, and I'll show you that. I have examples of that later on in the presentation. But that provides the opportunity for the tutor ops to actually present. Now, the first level tutor ops do not present in the CRLA trainings, and they also do not do the observations or evaluations for the tutors for the CRLA certification. However, the tutor ops level 2, they do that. So I'm in one room, and the tutor ops, along with the graduate assistant, is in the other room facilitating the training topics and sharing that information. The tutor op level 1 is going through all the process and learning about it. Now, as I mentioned before, we do utilize academia here on campus, so everybody's trained on it to the best of our ability, which I love it because, again, they're able to pull reports to help out with our payroll and documentation, which you see a little bit further down, and we get all of that situated as a team. Everybody does have customer service skills, again, and they do the email drop-in phone calls, making sure that we are providing a friendly front. But when it comes to pay, so again, the tutor ops come in at the base level pay. They're at $850, and then once they've kind of gone through their training semester, I am able to bump them up to about, it depends, it's probably like $10.50. Hopefully I'll make it to $11 for the pay increase for them. And then myself, I'm not getting top pay, but none of us are, and we are here, and I feel you, family, wherever you're chiming in from. So that's why I got to give myself my own X. But we're here. All right, so I am going to pivot into talking about supporting student leaders as well as showing you all some of my fun documents. But I do want to give a moment to see if there's any quick questions. I don't know if you see anything, Rachel.
The only question I'm seeing so far is someone asking if we'll be able to access the slides. Yes, we will send that out with the recording. Give it another few seconds to see if any other questions have come in. Again, feel free to submit those at any time. And even if we're not currently answering questions, we will flag them for later. Here's one that just came in. Are students motivated to seek out this tutor ops role?
Shockingly, yes. I think I'm really good, or I try to be really good with discerning like what I need, and like that potential and leadership skills, and like the vibe that the student will give not only to myself but to others. And so the tutor ops that I've had in the past have been so good and so friendly, and giving such good energy that people want to be just like them. So that being said, I've had students actually early this semester, like in September, they were talking to one of my current tutor ops, and she described her role, and she was just like, oh, that would be really nice. And so they reached out to me saying, hi, like, little Johnny told me about this role, and I really think that I would like to, apply for it if you would have me. And I'm like, oh, well, apply back in November. So I think it's just because of the current tutor ops, yes, they do seek the role. So it's like how they carry themselves is how I'm actually like getting that like traffic. So there's currently, I think I put the thing went live on Monday. It's Thursday. I have 5 applicants. I did not expect that. Normally I have like 3. But they're always good. But now I think they're starting to really want to do it.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what like percentage of applicants you usually end up hiring.
Well, usually I'm always hiring like 1 or 2 at max, because I'm the purpose of the hire is to replace whoever I am,
Right, right.
needing to fill in. So I have two folks who are graduating. One's graduating this semester, and then another in May. So I have two vacancies, and I have four tutor ops total this year at least. I've had more before, but I think four is a sweet spot. So usually it's always one or two more apply than what I need. So if I have one spot available, I usually have two or three, but they're usually again two or three that like they've really sought out this position because they've heard of it from somebody
Right.
else.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other questions at this time. Again, if you do think of any, please feel free to submit those and we will keep track of those. But I think, Amber, you're good to keep going.
All right, awesome. So, in terms of just supporting student leaders, I tell my students every time I interview any of them that I pride myself in trying to be supportive in any way that I can. The big things that I value is very much communication. As I even start any interview, whether it's the tutor one or the tutor off ones, I tell them, like, hey, you're welcome to ask any questions. And I say the same for you all as well, because I'd rather you walk away with clarity rather than confusion. So if you like are confused about the role, or you want to make sure that this is a clear aspect so you understand it properly, ask the questions, communicate with me, because I don't know what you don't know if you don't tell me. So that's my biggest thing, is clarity over confusion. I also like to keep in touch with not only just the tutor ops, but also the tutors, by sending out some type of, meeting or communication. So for the tutor ops, we do meet on a bi-weekly basis. So we meet every other Wednesday this semester, and I actually let them decide what is the day. So I tell them, hey, y'all find a day that y'all have a common time, and then let me know what the time is, and give me at least two options, but let me know the time. And sometimes it's after work, so I get off at 4:30. Sometimes the meeting has to start at 5 because that's when they're free, and I stay. It's every once, every other week. But this semester it is during the, you know, work hours, so I'm able to make sure that we can meet every other week. And for the tutors, I send out a newsletter once a month at the very least, kind of keeping in communications with them as well. Also, we do have SharePoint files that we all share together, and it all lives in the tutoring email account. So that way, hopefully, if I do move on to another institution, all of these files are there, but also the tutor ops can go back to previous semesters to see what's been going on. My other thing that I really value is just building up together. So I tell my students all of the time, I'm going to get paid regardless. So this ship can sail or it could sink, but my hope is that it is not going to sink at all. Like, I want us to grow. I want us to like build and like, put some fresh paint on it, get a new sail, like go a new direction, whatever that looks like. I want us to build together. So I really much foster growth in the center, and I lean into my student leaders to help me with that. And I'm also big on fostering their leadership skills, because I know that they want to go off and do certain graduate level programs or even just certain jobs. And I'm also trying to foster growth at the institution. I know that a lot of times we can remain silo or we can remain the same and stagnant, but I'm really big on growth. And I tell my students all the time, like, I pray that I'm never that person that never wants to change, because I want us to grow and keep getting better. When it comes to supervisory style, I try my best to value and pride myself in being individualistic in the support, because each of my tutor op is very different. Like, it's very funny watching our meetings, because you can tell like three out of the four really like going to the beach, but there's always that one tutor op, little Sally is what I'll call her. She's a camper. Like, she loves to be in the woods. Like, that's her thing. And we just know, but you take an individualistic approach because you know that they're all different. And that comes with either just approaching them or also providing them feedback, and also getting them, to do some reflections. I'm really big on not trying to avoid, I'm trying to avoid surprises. I don't want people to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that you were upset. If anything, most people, I'm never really upset. But if there is a time that I'm like, hey, hold up, I have a concern about that, I try to speak up on it, have them share their feedback or their thoughts and reflect on it. So that way there's kind of like no surprises if there was supposed to be any recommendation. And then I'm really big on discussing boundaries. Like, I don't want them to push beyond their boundary of what they can and can't do. And also making sure that we have boundaries as a center, to make sure that we're doing the best that we can, but not overworking ourselves. So of course, with any good old higher education presentation, you got to throw some theory in there. This is one of the models that I've been really encompassing at least over the past few years, which is a situational leadership model. And so as you're kind of looking at the different quadrants, you just take a different approach with each student at each time. So there could be the first or S1 quadrant is the directing, and usually a lot of times that's my level ones in terms of it's very high directive and low, or excuse me, wrong one, other way. Um, for my like top tier, I just kind of direct them to do what they need to do. So level twos, it's just, hey, can you do this? I don't really need to support them as much. Sometimes if they're kind of like, in their second semester, they might need a little bit more like help in terms of, I need to really coach them. They need that high direction or high support. And so I'll coach them in what they need to do so that way they get that. The newbies, a lot of times, are going to be more so to the I really, really need to provide support. Sometimes I'm not giving them too much directives, and it'll hover between supporting and coaching a lot of the times. But then when it comes to my top levels, again, it's a lot of times just delegating. Like, I don't really need to provide as much support. I don't really need to tell you what to do because they know what to do in that essence. So I kind of, again, lean into these types of approaches or being mindful of that, especially as I said before, I want to be individualistic in providing support. So I just do my best to observe each of their skills, their needs. Sometimes I will sit at the front just casually talking to them. But as I'm casually talking to them, I'm also watching them and how they work and then assessing how can I best support them, especially off these leadership styles. So actually the other day, my level one tutor op was at the desk and I was sitting there checking in on her, seeing how she's doing. And a student came in for first seminar needing to learn about the services. And all I did was sit there and say, I'm gonna let you handle it. And I just kind of watched her and how she answered the question. And then after that, of course, I'm going to provide positive and constructive feedback. So that way she's mindful of hey, this was really great, or this is what you need to do moving forward. But my hope and goal is that I don't have to sit there and tell you, direct you, and holding your hand of what you need to do, but more so just delegating and being comfortable with what you do and say. And most of the times, usually I'm at that point. I'm really big on receiving student feedbacks. If only you all could see my tutoring center now, one of my tutor ops did have the feedback of, changing up the table placements because some tutors are too loud. And I was like, let's run it and let's see what happens. So I'm the type that I encourage feedback. I welcome it. We'll try it out. And if it doesn't work, we'll revert back and then throw something else on the board and see what sticks. And I think they really do feel empowered from that. And then I'm really big on encouraging reflection. So my motto is 3 before me. So I need y'all to reflect on what you did, how you did it. And then from there, we'll circle back and move forward after you've kind of reflected. So I mentioned before that I do the bi-weekly meetings. And then as I just mentioned, I do the 3 before me because it allows them to do active listening. We also do have a group text message with boundaries. I do tell them, hey, I go to the gym at 5 o'clock. And I'll get out of the gym around 6, but you can still text me, but just be mindful. I might not get back to you. And also my phone goes off at 10 o'clock, so don't even try to text me so they know. And the same for them, we know when they have class or if they're doing something, hopefully we're not bombarding the text group. I welcome and act on feedback as much as I can. And then I do random check-ins. So I mentioned that I sat at the front with one of my tutor ops. But I'll do random check-ins, and they've made fun of me. I guess now my term that I keep saying is yay team after I'm done, checking in on them or making sure everything's good. They're like, we should get that on a shirt, Miss Amber. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so, huh? I do say that a lot. So I did want to show you all some samples of the things that I do or how I kind of use the tutor ops in a sample of their resume as well. So you see a little bit more of how much I lean into them. But this is one of the agendas for our bi-weekly meetings. This actually was our last one that we had. So I'll ask a check-in question to start. I'll also note the CRLA training dates. And then as you can see right there, I'm delegating. We're assigning the roles. We're making sure we know which room people are in. And then there is another section that's in there below the dates, and that's center needs. So I talk about all the things that, you know, we need to cover. So payroll is a really big one. I try to compliment them at each point that I can. And then at the end, I do provide space for them to give me information. So even though they're tutor ops, for some reason, my agenda always still reads tutor leader. I just haven't changed it yet. But I used to call it lead needs, and I thought that was such a cute iteration, and I just can't get over it. So this doesn't have tutor op, but it's sticking with me for me. I mentioned earlier that we do have the SharePoint document. So this is one of the minis. So this one allows us to make sure that when it comes to onboarding process, that the communication is crystal clear. So if I interview somebody, I'll probably put their name here in the system, and then I'll denote, are they cleared with payroll? Yes or no? Because if they're not cleared with payroll, we cannot have them start. But hopefully, you know, we can get them trained, but we can't have them start tutoring or put them in academia until they are cleared to go. And then as you can see, like through each time stamp, we try to make sure everybody's checked off. So is their handshake application like printed and put into the folder? Was the folder even created? Did we do the new tutor orientation? Are they in academia? Do they have a name tag? Are they ready to go? Like everybody's responsible for keeping up with this. And if I see blank spots and I see that, say like Morgan, this is a really old list, but say Morgan was tutoring and I see her outside the window, it's like, hey, Morgan's stuff isn't, you know, fully done there. Can you check and make sure everything's good? I will get that. They will get that checked on and then make sure they check it off in the spreadsheet. My hope now is actually to do a Google number soon, because we want to make sure that the tutor ops are currently using their own cell phones to text tutors, being like, hey, you're missing an appointment, or hey, like, you know, this person canceled. But we're hoping to get a Google number so that way it's just one text message, and then whoever starts their shift next doesn't have to wait for the next person when it comes for like, hey, did they say something? It's just all right there on the computer. In terms of our CRLA training, I mentioned before that I am in one room and the tutor ops and grad assistant is in another room. So we all start out in one room for me, but the tutor ops they do the fun stuff. They get to do the active listening and the communication styles. And there's really fun activities. And I've switched some things around. This is an older version of my CRLA. But they get to do all the fun stuff. And my room isn't like as like sexy, but I make it shake. You know, we make for fun as much as you can. But that being said, either way, the tutor ops have been trained. Like all of them have received the CRLA certification because they've been through all of this, all these training topics, and done even their own observations in terms of like helping folks. But now they get to go in and actually do the content and sharing that and putting their presentation skills to the test. Now, what I will try to do is if I have a tutor op 2 who's in my room, I will try to go into the part 1 room when it's a new tutor op and they're presenting to watch their presentation skills to make sure that they are doing a great job. But overall, it has worked really well for us in terms of splitting up the rooms and leaning into them. Now I do an observation for them as well. So I do one for tutors, but the observations for the tutor ops does look a little different. So this is just a sample of the evaluation that they would be receiving. So we go again into skill sets, we go into experiences. I give them the time. I will fill this out on their, like, they don't really know when I'm filling it out, but then I'll schedule a meeting with them mid to end of semester, and we will have a discussion about, hey, like, here's your evaluation. Tell me what your thoughts are. Like, what are some areas you want to build on? And then they receive a copy of their evaluation. And I always encourage them to put this on their resume. I do the same with tutors. Like, they have their own evaluation form. Whoever gives the evaluation, whether it's me or a tutor op 2, we will give the tutor a copy and they can have it for their records, but then I have it for records. And I can use these, you know, I tell them, like, I'll use these in letters of recommendation if you need them in the future. And then just a little bit about their, you know, resume. This is an example of one of my, you know, most recent grads in terms of her resume. And I think changing it to the operations assistants, it does make them feel a lot more empowered versus being called a tutor op or a tutor lead, because the tutor lead makes it seem like they're tutor as well, or they're like just leading the packs of tutors. Like to them, it sounded weak, and so that's why we remodeled it and named it operations assistants. But they do a lot. Like they create a manual for the tutors. Like I've had, mine was in bare bones back in the day, and I told them, hey, can you make this look really good? And they have buffed it up, which makes it really helpful for the tutors to understand clearly these are the roles and responsibilities. Again, they do conduct the presentations and the trainings, and they go to first seminar presentations. They pull the reports from academia and manage the system for the most part, and they create flyers and all of this fun stuff that really truly helps with the operations. So as I even say that for their, I'll take a moment of reflection as well, but I'll say, pause and say this too. It may make it seem like, oh my gosh, Amber, what do you do then? Trust me, I do a lot still on the back end. And if anything, they're more so like doing the supports of doing all this stuff. I just want them to have more meaning to their work. And a lot of times they're doing homework. I'm not saying like they can't do homework or relax on the job, but I want to kind of empower them to have the skills. And so a lot of these things I've started and created, but they're really just helping continue to maintain it. And then and in times where, like I said, next semester in the spring, I got to really focus on orientation this particular week. They're kind of picking up the slack and making sure, okay, this is what Miss Amber would do. This is like how she would do it. Or if a tutor comes in, this is how we would respond to that. So I'm gonna pause and also see, Rachel, if there are any questions in the chat. But we do have a activity on the next slide. But I do want to just pause and say, think of some ways that you can improve utilization and or student support or supporting student leaders in your learning center. Some of you may have student leaders who do something like this, or some of you might be thinking about that. But my hope is to encourage you to think about, how can you improve? And then while you think about that, because we'll go into the next slide with you actually answering questions, were there any questions from the last section?
Yes, there were a few. I don't know if we'll be able to get through all of these before you have to move on with your presentation. We might have to save some for the end. But one of them is, what kinds of files do you share with the ops and the tutors?
Files, hopefully as in like
files, like I would assume like handouts or resources.
Oh, okay. Well, because I was like their actual, academic record. So each tutor, when they come in, they do their orientation, and I will give them a copy of the orientation, or I do have, like I said, a tutor manual that I share with them. Now, tutors do like sign a tutor contract saying that they're basically going to like not be awful students and they're going to maintain their grades. And so that is left in our folder and on file, as well as their application that they did is in our files. But in terms of what we hand out to them, it's like the tutor manual and a copy of orientation. I don't give them a copy of my CRLA, like workshop training stuff. Because I want the other tutors who are coming in to do the training, so they need to be able to do them. But in essence, sprinkled into the manual does give a lot of those tips and tricks. And they have copies to that, and they're welcome to always ask. We also do keep track of the CRLA, their progress. The tutors don't have access to that. The tutor ops do. So if the tutors want to directly ask that question, then we can pull up the information and share it with them verbally or via email. But we don't share the file with them because of everybody else's name.
And next question is, how would you recommend inspiring these communication and collaborative skills in the student tutors?
Well, read it back to me one more time so I make sure
It's, how would you recommend inspiring these communication and collaborative skills in the student tutors?
I think, well, I do the newsletter once a semester, or not once a semester, once a month. And so in essence, like I try to make it very much like we are the massive team. And so even like starting out with just having highlights of like, hey, congrats to like little Johnny for getting into PT school, or little Sally is running for homecoming. I kind of try to boost them up and hopefully letting them see the others that are in the center, like who else is in the center and what they have going on, and great. But when it comes to like ideas, I also write those ideas in the newsletter. Like a tutor, I don't say who, but a tutor had this idea. What do y'all think? Our tutor ops at the front actually have notebooks that they have written like survey things, and tutors can go and mark what they think about the feedback. And then also, like I said, we're just very like communicative people. So my tutor ops, like I go and check on them and say like, hey, how are you doing? Like, what's going on? The tutor ops typically do that with the tutors, and I think they like feel a sense of welcome. So like they do sit and talk with the tutor ops, and then oftentimes there are other tutors that also come up to the front and talk. So there's a lot of opportunity to like, collaborate, talk, and be friendly in that manner. And most of the chemistry and the biology tutors know each other because usually when I'm sending out an email, it's to just them directly and saying, hey, this is an idea. What do you think? We typically collaborate with that in the email, but in terms of seeing each other, I don't typically hold a space for them unless they're going to the tutor ops to like talk about that. Hopefully that helps answer that one.
Yeah. And we've had a couple of people asking if you could explain a little bit more about what 3 before me is.
3 before me is you got to find 3 ways to ask before you get to me. So you can you need 3 sources that you've discovered. So did you, look online for the answer? Did you ask the other tutor op? Did you even try to investigate the answer yourself or go seek another resource, say like upstairs student support? So you tried 3 different things and then you came to me. And then when you came to me, I'm going to ask you, what do you think or what have you tried? And my hope and goal is you told me I tried this, this, and this, and none of those 3 options worked. So how can that be helpful? Or how can I do X, Y, Z? Can you help me? So that's the 3 before me. Usually they don't even get to me because they get to point 2 and they're like, all right.
Yeah, awesome. We're seeing some positive reactions to that.
Yeah.
And then we have a couple more before we move on. Would you say modeling these skills is an effective way to encourage the growth mindset?
Yes. And me modeling myself to the students and then even the student, tutor ops to either the tutors or even the students coming in is big. And that is a part of the contract, the tutor contract that I even have them do. Is like, I need you all to like be good role models and model good behavior. But I am the type that I preach what I talk. So like, again, I pride myself in being approachable, welcoming, supportive. And so I try to model that, and typically I see that happening down the chain too.
Okay, and last question for now. For your CRLA trainings, who conducts those trainings?
So does me and the tutor ops. So like I said, I hosted 3 Sundays in a semester. So it's like from 1 to 5. I don't think you can even see it on my board, but it's 1 to 5 p.m. And there's 2 rooms. There's a part 1 and a part 2 room. Part 1 room, the tutor ops are in there with a graduate assistant. I don't have let me also say, I don't have a direct graduate assistant. So I'm actually borrowing this graduate assistant just to be in the room in the event that there's an emergency. Granted, we're all in the same space, but I'm a risk adverse person. So I have a grad assistant there just to make sure nothing, goes crazy. And then myself, I'm in the part 2 room. And I will have 1 or 2 tutor ops depending on what stage they're at. So it's really me, the tutor ops, and then a borrowed graduate assistant for the day.
All right, and that looks like all the questions we have for now.
All right. So the last literally the last things is just reflection questions for you to share, because I'm curious myself to hear from you all. Do you use student leaders in your learning center? And if so, to what capacity? And then how do you improve support to and or maintain communication with those student leaders? So I'll give you a moment. And I know some people might have to run at 2, which I appreciate you for being here. But we're at the end. We're running the end. But I want to hear from y'all as we end. And then I also will share as you're typing. I have I don't have like, my door isn't solid. It's like a glass, like in carved. So like I can look out and see all the things. And so usually if a tutor also walks by, they can knock on the door and say, hey, I have a question. But open doors are also great too in my old class.
Yeah. I'm seeing at least one person say student tutors only tutor at this time. Uh, our center utilizes a group chat, but I like your idea about using SharePoint to keep everyone on the same page. We are a 2-year school, so no upper class people, unfortunately. I also worked at two-year schools, so that was a challenge in that regard. I do have mentor tutors who help with onboarding the new tutors, but their role is much smaller than your tutor ops. I would like them to take on more responsibility. And then definitely not as much as we could. I just find it's hard to find time to develop a system, train the leaders, then manage the leaders. I have more ad hoc assignments for senior based on longevity tutors rather than a specific program. Communication is via a Microsoft Teams team. Tutors use GroupMe for communications about shift sub needs, and I'll use it for urgent communications.
I thought of using if we get to, you know how that everybody's like, oh my gosh, iPhone is blue, and then there's that one Android with green. I've always thought of like, well, we could use GroupMe if that's going to be an issue, but they seem to be fine. And so maybe one day I'll use GroupMe. So I like that even idea, um, because so far we've been texting. But this semester my text messages have been a little slow. I don't know what's going on. I think people are nervous to text. The newest one is nervous to text. I'm like, girl, you can text me. It's fine. Just again, I'm in bed at 10 o'clock. That's all I got. All right. Anything else, Rachel? Should I move on to the next slide and the last one?
I think you're good to move on.
All right. Literally, this was the end. So in conclusion, again, everybody does things differently, and I'm not saying my way is the right way or even the wrong way, but it is just a way. And so, my goal and challenge for you is just to assess if using student leaders would be a viable option for you. And I did hear in some of those, responses that, maybe not to this level. And trust me, it has taken me years. Like we're in 2025, about to go into 2026. I started this in 2020, and the role looked very different back then, and now it has very much evolved. It's so much to the point where, again, the training semester, I'm not necessarily training the tutor op ones, the tutor op twos are telling them this is what I do. And they have their own manual as well, because that was one of the feedbacks that I've gotten. So that way we can keep it rolling. The biggest thing is just also to recognize the student leaders who have the potential to grow in these leadership roles, and just, if you feel like they're going to be great, then give them the chance, especially if it's something that you need. I have the one who's very like quiet, but she is type A, and everything is going to be double cross teed eyes, is full to the max. And then I have my really goofy ones who forget something here and there, but they know how to talk and put on their facilitation skills quick and easy. And so it's just figuring out, what's their potential in their role, and then fostering that as, you want them to be great leaders, but you also want your operations to be top tier, at least to the best that you can with the resources that you have. And then I will also, again, pause if there are any questions, see if anybody has anything in totality of the presentation.
Yes, so one question that's come up is who creates your CRLA tutor training materials?
I do. I've created all of them. However, I throw it on them, they actually created the Canva. So my initial training materials were really PowerPoint. And I'm not a boring person, but I don't have the Gen Z eye. And
Simple,
so
simple works.
I gave them the presentation. I said, hey, make this look great, and they made it look amazing with memes and everything on there too. So while I had like the questions, they had very funny images to go with it. So I create the content, but they do jazz it up for me, in terms of the look for the students.
And did you understand the memes, or were there were they a few
For the
because
most part, yes.
when I look at memes from my generation, I'm like, oh, this was like a whole language that has completely evolved to the point where it's not even recognizable anymore.
Yes, no, some of them I do, or some of them I don't, and I'm still trying to learn. I know the children are on the 6, 7. I don't even know, but okay. So I just play with it, and they know that I'm a cringy millennial, as I've been described as, and so I run with it.
let's sorry. I'm not seeing any other questions. Uh, let's give it another few seconds here. I do just want to remind everyone that if you do have to leave, we are, or when you do leave, we are going to be redirecting you to a survey. If you would like to give us some feedback, we really appreciate it. And again, let me put my email in there if you're interested in trying out academia, which Amber Center does use, to see if it would make your data collection easier. But otherwise, we will be sending out the recording. We do have the slides, so keep an eye on your email for that, as well as for when we open up the next webinar for registration. So I am, yeah,
Oh,
go
do you
ahead.
see anything else?
No, no, no. I was just going to say, I'm still not seeing any other questions. So go
Okay.
ahead.
I was going to say that this QR code is not the survey for her, but it is a way to connect. So if you have questions or want to learn or just talk more, I love talking with colleagues. You're more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. You're also welcome to email me. As Rachel said, like we do use academia, and I've talked to countless colleagues about how we use it and what it looks like. And I still love learning because I'm not the know-all for it, and I love learning some folks at other institutions about how they use it. So definitely connect with me. Thank y'all for coming. Also, I did rock out my little vest. So my supervisor wanted our tutor ops to wear shirts and like polo shirts at the front because they had the other student workers in the front wear the polos. And I was like, I don't like it. I don't like it. And so we settled with vest. And I think these were, I don't know how much it was, but I asked for the cheapest version of them because I was kind of very anti, like, I don't want them to have like to wear a uniform, but my camping girl loves, of course, the vest, and actually now everybody loves it. So this is something that they wear at the front desk to distinguish that they're a tutor op, and if they walk around, like the tutor now knows that they're the tutor op if they're new. So I'm rocking that for them today as I'm doing my lovely presentation. But I do appreciate y'all so much for
Yeah.
coming and just being here with me today.
Yeah, and appreciate you, Amber, as well. Thank you so much for your time today. If anybody does have any questions, of course, you can reach out to Amber. And again, we appreciate you taking the time to do that survey. And we we hope that you have a great rest of your week. And thank you again for coming to another Engineerica Keynote webinar. Thanks so much, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.